Good morning, everyone. As we wait to get started here, I have a little question for you all. Just tell us who you are. Are you an educator, employer, family member, self-advocate, disability professional, etc.? Just tell us who you are. We're just wondering who's in the room today. And we will get started here in just a couple minutes. So just giving you something to do while we wait. Thanks for being here, everybody. Cool. Nice. Such a variety of people. Very cool. People are still coming in. If you're just arriving, we just have a question up here for you to answer in the chat. Just tell us who you are. Thanks for being here. We'll get started in just a minute. Awesome. All right, well, welcome again. My name is Sadie Everett, and I am the director of the Regional Autism Advisory Council, or RAAC, RAAC. And RAAC is a part of the University of Cincinnati IDD Education Center. RAAC's been a part of UC now for a little over a year, and I have had the honor of leading the efforts of RAAC. And one of those efforts is providing trainings to the community. And I've done it a little different this spring, where I've done these mini series. And this is the third session of this mini series, all focused around employing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we have a great crew with us today. We've got Cynthia Cruz from Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. And we also have Nathan Beck from Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services. Did I say that right? I think I did. And they are going to share their presentations about their role in employing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I'm going to let them get started. So I'm going to share my screen again with Cynthia's PowerPoint here. Let's see, continue to share this PowerPoint window. Yes. Okay. Are we good, Cynthia?
We are good. Thanks so much,
Okay.
Sadie. Appreciate
Great.
that. I will be doing that annoying next slide throughout this, so forgive me for that, everyone out there. But
no problem.
Considering my horrible computer karma, it's probably best for you that she does that. So good morning again. My name is Cynthia Cruz. I am the Business Relations Specialist for Southwest Ohio for Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. We are commonly known as OOD, since that title and all of that is a mouthful. Let's just keep it clear, though, we are the OOD, the OOD agency, not the ODD agency. So OOD, not ODD. So, and we are commonly mistaken for our sister brother agency, the Board of Developmental Disabilities, or Developmental Disability Services. So I'm glad that we have our brother sister agency, Rep. Nathan Beck, with me today to help kind of distinguish some of the similarities and some of the differences in what we do for employers. So that being said, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, as you can see up on the screen there, hopefully, is actually comprised of 4 different divisions. And the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation is actually a federal program. So every state does have a Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation. We're a little unusual in Ohio in that we also encompass under OOD the Bureau of Services for the Visually Impaired, the Division of Disability Determination for Social Security, and then the division that I'm a part of, the Employer and Innovation Services. So not all of these would always be in every state, but the BVR component would be. And I will actually say, as a proud Bearcat alum of the University of Cincinnati, that the reason why we have our name, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, is predicated on a research study that UC did for us as an agency about 12 or 13 years ago now, where our original title, the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation, was sometimes misconstrued for what type of services we provide. And it was UC's research that helped lead us to this name that we currently have. Next slide, please.
Hang on. Okay, there we go.
Good. So, speaking of research and speaking of the state of Ohio, when Governor DeWine came in 2019, he actually did go ahead and declare that the state of Ohio would be a disability inclusion state. And he wanted the state of Ohio, with our employee base, to really model what a best-in-class employer of people with disabilities would look like. So as you can see there, he did create a state Americans with Disability Act coordinator position. And actually our disability etiquette, which is one of the trainings that I offer to employers, was actually then put into place so that all state employees now take that disability etiquette training. And you'll learn a little bit later about our State of Ohio Vocational Apprenticeship Program that also was kicked off under Governor DeWine as well. Next slide, please. So again, there are hundreds of agencies out there that are helping people with disabilities throughout the state of Ohio. But Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities is really, in essence, a workforce development agency. So what do we mean by that? Really, our emphasis is engaging with students age 14 and above, all the way up to individuals who are 90 or something. So there is that age cutoff on the one end. You have to be at least 14, but there is no age cutoff on the other end. So we, as a division of Employer and Innovation Services, in my role as a business relations specialist, really are tasked with creating and sustaining employer partnerships. So you'll see in another slide in a minute how many of those we currently have. But we really kind of emphasize not only creating those relationships, but make sure that we maintain them as well. And again, we'll hit on a few more of these things in a more expanded presentation in just a moment. Excuse me. So, important statistics. People always love statistics. They want to see the research on that. So I do a training called Disability Etiquette and Awareness. Within that are a couple of these statistics, and I think it's important. As you can see on the slide there, currently there's about 1 in every 4 American adults who have disabilities. This is really different from what has happened historically. Historically, it didn't really matter what country you were in. It didn't really matter what decade it was. Really, individuals with disabilities were about 20% of the population, but that did change in the US about 5 or 6 years ago. So now in the US, it actually is about 25%, or 1 in every 4. So beyond that, when we talk about Ohioans with disabilities, as you can see, there's over 1.6 million Ohioans that do report having a disability, and a very large percentage of those are in the actual working population disability candidate pool there. So when it comes to disabilities, you know, there's terms like invisible disabilities, visible disabilities. Maybe the more contemporary language would be apparent disabilities and non-apparent disabilities. So about 70%, according to some research, would be included in that non-apparent category, if you will. And this is a field that seems to continue to grow as there's more awareness and more diagnoses. And as you can see on there, that includes disabilities like depression, anxiety, ADHD, and many others. Next slide, please. So, haven't seen if there's any employers out there in the audience today, but just in general, whether you're an educator or an employer or working in the field of people with disabilities, you know, it's really important. We feel very strongly as an agency that yes, it's nice to hire people with disabilities, but that's not really why an employer should do it. The employer should hire somebody with a disability because of the assets and strengths that the individual can bring to the work site. So, and that is very well researched. So it adds to the bottom line by a number of things, but obviously different perspectives that are brought in there, as well as just the innovation just in general that comes from this population. And the one that, is at the bottom there, I would say that's great. There are tax credits, which again, we'll talk about in a moment, but really we want the emphasis to be more on the talents and skills and abilities that the individuals are going to bring to that work site. So I said we'll talk in a second about how many employer partners myself and my 4 colleagues across the state have. So currently we have 800 plus unique employer partners. These are businesses throughout the state of Ohio that over the past 11 or 12 years have said, yes, we absolutely want to be a disability inclusive site. And as long as your candidates are meeting those minimum qualifications, we absolutely want to consider them and hopefully get them employed within our business. So with that being said, as you can see last year, OOD as an agency as a whole, not just Cynthia Cruz, OOD as an agency as a whole has helped more than 5,000 individuals get and keep a job. So, got to get some color graphics in there. Got to test your knowledge on how many counties there are in Ohio. There's 88, but you can see by the spread there. There's me at the bottom, and then my other 4 colleagues there color-coded as to their respective counties. So if there's anyone who's, you're talking about UC where you have students who are residing in Cincinnati, perhaps while they're going to school, but maybe, come from another place in Ohio. So they could potentially be helped with employer partners, even beyond the ones that I cover in Southwest Ohio, by other companies that my colleagues in the other regions have there. So 88 counties, I've got 20 of them. I think my other colleagues have 20, 21, 22, and like 9. I'm going to get that Brian Crow up there up top for only having 8 or 9 there. Just kidding, Brian. Okay, next slide, please. So back on that benefits to business thing, at least according to one study, this one done by Accenture, and there's several others out there, but this specific one has shown the additional revenue that can be gained by employing an individual with a disability, income, profit margins, and more importantly, and this is the one, not more important than revenue and income, coming as a past private business owner, that's really important, but also importantly is the retention piece. So, again, that particular study evidenced about 30% lower staff turnover, and anybody who has run a business knows how important that is because of the high cost to actually attract and retain talent. So what do I specifically do for these employer partners, and what does it mean to businesses? Number one, my main role is providing our qualified candidates, again, who have to meet those essential functions of the role, providing those candidates for our company's day in, day out hiring needs. And I think there's going to be a ton of animations in there, Sadie, so you just can click them all. I don't want to spoil any surprise, but I think we're good with removing those animations. So that's number one, the candidate sourcing. And number 2, on the job and retention support. So I feel very strongly about this, again, as a past business owner. A lot of people come at this from, oh my gosh, okay, if we can just get this guy a job or this gal a job, that's a success. That has not ever been my philosophy, and I'm glad it's not the agencies either. It is that we are that support network. Once the individual has been hired from that business, I absolutely continue to be that resource. So if something should come up, again, I want to be there as a resource for that business so that we can continue to be a valuable partner and continue to have more and more employees hired by that business. Disability etiquette and awareness training. So originally, I think I'd talked with Sadie about maybe doing disability etiquette, but she found someone else to hit that slot. So, but there are about 10 different modules that I do train businesses on. Again, we go right on site to the business and do it there, so it's convenient for the employer. Customize that for the employer. Each of these modules, each of the 10 modules can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour in length, all on different topics within the realm of disability awareness. Any of you who have seen them before, you know, there's one that's kind of a life-size Monopoly game, if you will. So it's 24 by 36 poster board, white spaces, colored spaces. We form teams, give them team tokens. So we try and have fun with some of these things, but still make sure that we impart some knowledge along the way. Job fairs and hiring events, that's a huge part of my role. So within Southwest Ohio, usually throw about 5 different job fairs or interview events, hiring events, where these can look like actual in-person, pre-scheduled interviews for the employers. Again, we've just kind of pre-screened for the minimum qualifications, have the resumes ready, have the applications in, so that the employer can actually, as long as their process is amenable to that, actually extend an offer on that very day to those candidates. Sometimes it looks like what we're doing right now in this flat screen, having those virtual interviews. Sometimes, again, it takes that 3-dimensional form in person. And then the job fairs typically do one at Wright State, which we just did in May. We had about 100 interviews that took place in a 2.5-hour period of our candidates with all types of disabilities, as well as having about 25 employer partners participate in the traditional job fair booth setup as well. Tax credits will hit in another slide. Workplace accessibility services will hit in another slide. And same thing on that disability inclusive internships. So we've already thrown out a bunch of acronyms this morning. We got UC, we got the IDD, we got the RAAC, we got the OOD, and then I'm the BRS, so the Business Relations Specialist. So you can see up here really quickly, I've already told you what I do. Most of you, I think, realize that we have VRCs, vocational rehabilitation counselors, who are the really the main part of our agency, where they're actually working with our candidates with disabilities to find out where their strengths lies, what type of barriers they might be finding with employment, maybe what certifications, what licensures, what types of assistive technology might be helpful. Of course, you know, whether an individual could benefit from a job developer or a job coach. That vocational rehabilitation counselor is working in conjunction with the participant to kind of suss out all that great information. Job developer, again, we work with a great network of provider partners who employ job developers and job coaches. And then we do have a few internal job developers that are employed by OOD doing a similar role. Talent sourcing coordinator, if you haven't met him yet, Ruth Sestito, I think, is my right arm and my left arm at times with helping with the candidate pool, as well as with the hiring events. She's the person who's typically trying to scribe when I do my disability awareness training so people can read it, because I have illegible handwriting, so thank God for Ruth. And then we have a brand new talent sourcing coordinator up in the Dayton area, Iris Cummings, as well. So next slide, please. Yeah, we'll just keep going.
Sorry, hang on one sec.
You're fine. So really that OOD Works is, again, just a part of our website that helps from a retention standpoint if there's an employee and an employer partner who could benefit from our services.
There we go.
So there's those trainings and webinars I was talking about. So I was talking about the in-person trainings that I do. We also do a monthly webinar. So those monthly webinars, if you are someone who needs SHRM certification from an HR perspective, those monthly webinars, as long as you attend them live in person, or, well, you know, in person meaning absorbing them on the screen like we're doing right now. But as long as you're attending them live, they are eligible for SHRM certifications and HRCA, I believe, as well. But if you decide, hey, I can't come to that specific one, all these webinars are recorded and available on our website so that they can be viewed on demand. You just don't get the SHRM credits at that point, but you still get that great information on there. And you can see some of the topics that have happened in the past there.
And Cynthia, these are all free. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. No cost to the employer.
Correct.
Free.
Correct.
Free.
Well, so I'm going to qualify.
Okay.
So I always say no cost services, right? So no cost for our participants or candidates, if you will, and no cost for the employers. because we've been paid for already out of your state tax
Yeah,
dollars. So I can't really say free, I say no cost, because
got it.
the taxes
Yeah,
have been paid.
makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. All right, we talked about that. So the one other thing I would say about our hiring events, so for the Cincinnati area, typically what the hiring events or job fairs look like would be we do our Transition Expo out in the Hillsborough area, typically in March at Southern State Community College. And that normally looks like about 300 juniors and seniors who are on IEPs, and we expose them to some training classes. So one year it was Project Runway or Project Run Away, where we did an actual fashion show of what you should wear to an interview and what you shouldn't wear to an interview. And then Don't Meet Your Honey, Where You Make Your Money, which is a topic on work ethics. So that's our expo in March. And then again, coming more towards the Cincinnati area, since we're talking UC here today, we have our National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Again, another acronym, NADEEM, events, one every week in October. The one for Cincinnati, I believe, is going to be in the third week of October this year. And that will look like an actual job fair at Scarlet Oaks, the Great Oaks campus there, as well as, again, some probably 10 different employers doing those interviews as well concurrently while that's occurring. And then we sometimes do employer-specific hire days. So we have done like an entire day throughout the state for Meijer, or an entire day throughout the state for Kroger, et cetera. So, and then there's, again, regional events that occur too. Okay.
Great. Is there a listserv, or can you subscribe to get the information on these events that are happening statewide?
So great question. Yes, there is. And then, again, depending on whether you're coming at it from an employer perspective or from a participant, provider, educator perspective, there's a couple different ways to get in that, but either way, I think you'll see my email address at the end of this presentation. So either way, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do for a living, or what you're interested in. I'll get you connected one way or the other for that listserv. I think it's called Granicus. I always say Graham Cracker or Graham Norton. I don't know exactly. That's
Okay,
another
great.
pay grade there. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
sure. So, employer tax incentives. This is a popular question that I get from employers. There are 3 specific tax incentives out there for hiring people with disabilities currently. The Work Opportunity Tax Credit, which has been around for a while and can also be utilized with other segments of the population, but certainly individuals with disabilities that are employed by employers who are for-profit entities. There is a tax credit for that. And again, I've got, tracks and treaties and applications and paperwork for that to employers who are interested on that. Also, the burial removal tax deduction and the disabled access credit can actually be used more than 1 year, depending on what types of modifications are done for these. But again, these would be for for-profit entities. So those would be the 3 currently. Workplace accessibility services. So we started Accessibility Ohio under Governor DeWine, I'm going to say probably, 6 years ago now. We started with one lady, and she now has become the manager of the, Accessibility Ohio. So I think there are now 5 different workplace accessibility consultants. So as it says there, these are trained individuals who can come to your work site and provide that consultation on reasonable accommodations, accessibility in general, workplace checklist, I think they even have now, for you to find out about the accessibility of your work site, as well as your website. We have another gentleman on staff who is blind, and he can actually go to your website and tell you what the experience is like for someone who is blind. And then give some recommendations for that. Again, none of this is legally binding. We are not the ADA police. This is purely from an informational standpoint, if it's something that you want to make sure that the experience is great for everyone, right? College to Careers, that's another somewhat newer program. I think it's been around for about 6 or 7 years now. So, College to Careers, what we have found is that through the years, students with disabilities, probably not a big surprise to any of the educators on this call, but when it comes to student with disabilities trying to attain co-ops or internships or apprenticeships, statistically, there's been a pretty big gap between those college students with disabilities securing those versus students without disabilities securing those. The other place where there was a statistical anomaly is with, again, that first job post-graduation, right? So when you compare those brand new graduates with disabilities versus the brand new graduates without disabilities, again, there was a bit of gap for that first time post-graduation job. So that's what Ohio College to Careers was born out of. To help try and mitigate some of those gaps. So we do have an actual vocational rehabilitation counselor, that VRC, on a number of different campuses within Ohio. And of course, would be remiss if I did not mention that for University of Cincinnati, that is Mr. Doug Moore. So if you have not encountered Doug Moore yet, you need to, because he is a delight and can certainly be a benefit for the students with disabilities for many of those aspects that I just mentioned. Also, if you have not met her yet, Missy O'Brien is that career development specialist at CDS that's mentioned a little bit down on the slide. So she works to find employer partners specifically for those internships and co-ops. So whereas I'm just kind of every nuts and bolts and whatever you got as far as jobs go with employer partners, she's really kind of laser focused on, again, that internships and co-ops for the college students, as well as some of the roles for those new graduates as well, kind of those entry-level professional roles with her employer partner base as well. And then typically 1 or 2 times a year, that career development specialist works in concert with the College to Careers counselor on that particular campus to try and have some type of career connection event with our respective employer partners. So I teased it out when we were on that slide about Governor DeWine about 8 or 10 slides ago and said something about this Ohio Vocational Apprentice Program. So this is a fantastic program, and you can see on the left part of the slide, at least the way I'm facing it, some of the different occupations that are encompassed under the Ohio Vocational Apprentice Program. So again, these are state of Ohio programs under those various state departments. So whether it's Department of Transportation or the Treasurer's Office or, on and on it goes. These are all different roles that fall under those different state departments. And we as an agency, Opportunities for Friends with Disabilities, is actually funding that apprenticeship program. So the wages can be, as it says, up to $16.50 an hour, up to 25 hours per week, for a maximum of 1,000 hours for the duration of that apprenticeship. Obviously, what we want to do, hopefully, by sweetening the pot with this apprenticeship program, is hopefully then turn these apprenticeship roles into a permanent role with that specific department. But either way, the apprentices are gaining incredible real-world knowledge that's clearly not just applicable to state government, but can be applicable to a number of other vocations as well. Governor's Inclusive Employer Award. I don't know if Christine Trujillo is on this call or not, but she said to let her know when the applications are coming out for that. And I just found out this morning that the applications should, the notice for that should probably go out on June 9th. I'm not sure exactly when the deadline is yet, but just heard this morning that at least the application information should start to go out on June 9th. So what it is obviously recognizing employers in the state of Ohio for being disability inclusive friendly practices. In the past, that's looked like CareSource, that's looked like Crown, that's looked like Miami University, it's looked like Kroger, it's looked like Bayer, it's looked like several health systems, the Ohio State University. So a number of different winners over the past number of years, but there is an application process. I'm not on the committee. You can't bribe me with chocolate for this one. So stay tuned. And then we do have on our website a disability inclusive employer toolkit with tons of information. Really, the four different categories that fall under that would be accessibility, accommodations, recruiting, hiring, and supporting, and just disability inclusion as a whole. And there's that dreaded slide I warned you about. So again, any questions that you have, wanting to get on those lists that Sadie was asking about, just feel free to type in that name, cynthia.cruz@ood.ohio.gov, and I will certainly try and help you. If I'm not the expert on it, I will find you someone else for that.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Cynthia right now, or we can switch to Nathan and then we can have more, we'll have time for questions after Nathan's presentation too, but if anyone has any burning questions right now, feel free to either drop it in the chat or just unmute or mute yourself. That would be great. All right. Thank you, Cynthia. I learned quite a bit from that presentation. And I don't know if I prefaced this when we started, but before you all got on the call, Nathan and Cynthia and I were talking like, just how in depth is this going to get? I was like, well, let's get to the basics here, because I think there is so much information and so many resources out there that we just don't know about. And so just bringing this to the surface a little bit. And then obviously now we have connected with you all, that if there are, deeper questions and, different, I'm sure we could deep dive into so many of the things that you just shared with us. So I just appreciate the knowledge that that I'm learning, that I'm coming to grips with, and that we're bringing to the group here. So I will start sharing, or do you want to share, Nathan, or would you like me to share?
Either way, whatever's
I'm
easier, I can share
uh,
too.
whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, if you want to share, that's fine.
Sure, I'm fine.
I'd just give Cynthia a shout out because she talked about the disability awareness training. I've been in that, and I will give a plug that that is an excellent training. Think that it awesome. I learned so much when I was in that training, and Cynthia kicked us off today because I think for sure they're one of our great partners in helping to employ people with developmental disabilities. So all the employer services that Cynthia mentioned, Hamilton County, we are an employer partner. Been on board for over a year now, and we are seeing candidates that are diverse in the standpoint of have a disability and some type of barrier. So, yeah, great agency. So thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Sadie, for this opportunity. I'm going to keep it very basic. So if there's specific questions, I'll do the same that Cynthia kind of alluded to, save them for the end. Or you can stop me too. So I like that dialogue, Sadie, where you were asking some questions throughout if there's anything I don't mention. So
Okay,
um,
great.
yeah, thank you. So I just want to quickly, draw attention. I think the title of the training, we're supporting employees with IDD, and I think it's really important to. I saw on the list of attendees in the training today that there's a lot of people from the county board system. I saw some SSAs. Um, I know our friends from CPS were on here as well. So we have some great partnerships. So that this is going to be some information that you're like, oh yeah, I know about that. So just to prepare you that some of this information is very basic in the fact that like we're trying to educate people about Hamilton County DD services. Cynthia mentioned there's 88 county boards. So there's a county board in every county in the state of Ohio. And we've been working as a system to align our processes and procedures so that when you cross the border from Hamilton to Warren to Butler County, that there are some similarities in our services. So I do think before I start, Cynthia drew attention to the fact that, 1 in 4 Americans have some type of disability. And then in Ohio, it's 1 in 6. And so when you draw down, I think those percentages, then you start to look at how many individuals may be eligible for Hamilton County DD services. And you can flip the slide, Sadie, to the next one. So I think that's important to talk about what piece of the pie that we're serving, developmental disabilities. So this slide kind of has the difference where our services would come into play. So developmental disabilities are severe long-term conditions that can be intellectual, physical, or both. And there's some examples there: autism, intellectual disability, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. Um, and with that, that doesn't always make you eligible. So the third bullet there, the after having a developmental disability, then to qualify for our services, you have to have impacts of major life activities like language, mobility, things of that nature that impact your life substantially. 3 of the areas have to show that there's need. So and developmental disabilities begin before the age of 22, and they're expected to last throughout the person's lifetime. So that's really, I think, important because we get phone calls a lot, from folks that they may have a loved one that's 26 years old, and they were just diagnosed with a disability, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't have the disability before that age, but we do look for documentation that disability, that developmental disability, was diagnosed prior to the age of 22. So that's I think that's important to kind of differentiate out our services versus OOD. I wish I had a slide, Cynthia. When you were talking, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, it'd be really nice to have like a continuum, how we intersect with OOD. And I think the next slide kind of does that. So you can flip forwards. Well, it's following. There is a slide that talks about the continuum of our services. We'll get to that. So kind of an overview of HCDDS. We serve nearly 10,000 people that reside in Hamilton County. And I will say that although they reside in Hamilton County, we have people that cross borders to work and are employed outside of Hamilton County. So that residing in Hamilton County is how that you're eligible for our services, and then can receive support ongoing to maintain a job. That I'll kind of talk about some services that go along with that. We help families navigate life at every stage. Again, there's a graphic that I'll show on another slide. We identify needs, deliver supports, and connect people to services and resources such as OOD. So it's great that to have Cynthia today, because that is when we hear someone say that they're interested in working, that right away we would think about how can we involve OOD, get their vocational rehabilitation specialist involved that have that training to really look at what their skill sets are and how that could match a job in the community. We pay matching funds to ensure that people have access to Medicaid waivers. A large percentage of our funding that we receive, we do pay out for matching funds for Medicaid waivers. We have more than 1,300 providers that deliver services in Hamilton County. We provide oversight and keep people healthy and safe. We have an MUI department that really analyzes trends and data around incidents, keeping people safe in the community. And then the final bullet there, we're a trusted community resource for disability-related issues. Next slide, Sadie. So I mentioned this, a lifetime of support. So with our system, we say that we serve people from birth to death, and so you can see in this graphic that we work with folks as early as age 0 to 2 with our early intervention services. We serve people through their school age into adult, and then aging. And so we have some services that are primarily used to serve people in those areas. So you can see for adult and aging, the primary services or a few of the services that are mentioned there are housing, benefits assistance, waiver services, employment, day services, home modifications, and equipment. So anyone who's 18 years of older may have those services. For school age, you can see that Continuum has SSA, which is basically a case manager that would help assess needs and set up services for a person. Waiver services, personal care, transportation, and provider support. Next slide, Sadie. So some quick facts about Hamilton County DDS. We have a 7-member volunteer board that is appointed by the county commissioners and the probate judge. Our local levy is the largest revenue source. 83% of our funding comes from the local levy that you would see on the ballot every 5 years. And so that's the only levy that we have that fund our services. Our funding for waivers is now our largest expense. It says 52% on this slide, so more than half of our dollars are spent on Medicaid waivers for people to live in their communities, and that pays for support for that person in their home and the community, maybe somewhere for them to go during the day if they're going to a day program or something of that nature. It would pay for employment services if somebody needs an employment service after they've utilized OOD services. And then eligibility. Obviously, I talked a little bit about the qualifying disabilities. Next slide, Sadie. All right, so in our system, this next slide, just talking about why employment. There's 10,000 people in Hamilton County. Years ago, we used to have sheltered workshops, and we still do have very few of those. But with the Employment First initiative, we're promoting that all people with developmental disabilities are capable of employment in the community. So the team that I'm a part of, the employment navigation team, the transition navigation team, we're encouraging employment, thinking about that as an option for each person that we engage with. And so we have that as something that it's part of our planning tool. And in fact, every year when we meet with an individual who's eligible for services, we're talking about what do you want to do? Are you interested in employment? Do you need more information? What services can we authorize so that you understand what employment would mean for you? So that's very important. So and employment, we know Cynthia had a few stats about why that's important to businesses, and I would echo that. Businesses that hire people with disabilities, according to that study by Accenture, they're more profitable. But on the other side, the human side of employment, we know that it creates self-sufficiency. It helps people to have a sense of accomplishment, and it helps them to create their own social identity. And so we want to have that happen for as many people as we can in our system. And really, I think the key is to take away is that we have services even for folks with the most severe disabilities. We are willing and able to try to help that person get to an employment outcome. It's a positive impact on the community. If you follow Hamilton County DD Services, we have social media where we throw out success stories of people that are working in their community. We have Cynthia used an acronym, NDEAM. We have a National Disability Employment Awareness Month celebration where we come together and we celebrate all the great accomplishments that people with developmental disabilities are a part of in the community, and that really centers around employment, just how those folks grow, they learn, they have a career path, just like the rest of us. So it definitely, the last bullet there, contributes to a culture of inclusion and equality, which we want to not just from the business side of things like Cynthia mentioned, but also from the human side of just wanting to have something to do, to have something to wake up to go to have a job, to have a part of the community. It's really what we want to create for everybody. Next slide, please, Sadie. Okay, so some employment services that we have available through Hamilton County DD Services, employment navigation. We have an employment navigator that helps connect with local resources. So that may be our Ohio Means Job Center, meeting with OOD, meeting with provider agencies, Easter Seals Redwood, Ohio Valley Goodwill, just to name a few of the larger ones here in Cincinnati. We have benefits analysis. Just through I think years and years of trying to help people get to employment, one barrier that we continually find is that people having the fear of losing their benefits is a big barrier. So we have a benefits analyst here at Hamilton County DDS that can help people understand how working affects Medicaid, Social Security, those kind of things. Something that Cynthia also, I think, mentioned in her presentation. So we have that, and I think the key to knowing why we have that as well is that our services span the lifetime. OOD may start and end. So people along their path and along their life journey, they may need re-education or something changes in their life, and we have a benefits person that can do that. We have funding both through Medicaid and through our local dollars to help a person with job coaching. So at some point when OOD services may end and a person may be successfully employed, and that person starts to fade out of services, maybe they need some ongoing job coaching where someone can go in, help communicate with a manager, help continue to build that career path, keep their resume updated as their task and what they're doing at the job change over time. So we can fund for those job coaching services after OOD has closed. Transportation, so we have some assistance with helping people get to a job, and I have that worded that we help assist navigating local options and resources. So really having in our toolkit a wide variety of what options are available to get people to and from work. And that could be creative options if you're outside of the 275 loop. Sometimes there's some options that we can really talk to and personalize for a person that's looking for a job or a way to get to their job. Career development and planning. So one-on-one assistance from our local expert on matching skills and abilities with the jobs that are in their local community. And I really highlight local community because, we want people to look locally what's within their local community that they can be involved in. Next slides, Sadie. So just this last slide, I just had a few stats that I wanted to put out there from our agency. So there's 850 plus individuals that are eligible for services that are working in the community. We have 40 plus providers of employment services that are certified and have specific training to help people get to their employment outcomes. 100 plus employer connections. And that is really a symbiotic kind of relationship where we really focus on smaller employers. Cynthia talked about the employer relationships that she has and she builds. We're really looking in people's local communities, looking for those odd jobs, and we work with OOD. I've worked with Cynthia many times when an employer said, "Hey, I just want to hire more people that are." That are looking for employment from your system. So we bring in OOD and we work together. And our system's really moving away from 14C sub minimum wages where people are in sheltered environments and may earn less than the federal minimum wage. So as a system, we're trying to support people in a one-on-one team environment to really understand how working in the community could be something they're successful with in the community. So next slide, Sadie. That's it. Oh, that's it. So,
Yep, that's my
yep.
last slide.
All right. Well, that was perfect. That was perfect. Thank you, Sadie, for
Yeah.
helping navigate that.
I have a question for you guys. So when you said you can pick up with the job coaching when OOD closes, can you guys talk about how that works? I know there's a certain amount of hours, like just a scenario of when somebody opens a case with OOD and kind of walk us through what that looks like?
Sure, I'll answer that because I think Cynthia is not on the service side of that'd be a great question for a voc rehab counselor. But it's really individualized, Sadie, not to be generic with the answer, because each person can be so widely different in their needs. And so what we've set up, the relationship with OOD, we try to start communication between our agency and OOD early on. So when that person first starts to look for a job, we really want communication to start flowing between OOD and our agency, so that if an SSA is involved or an employment navigator or a support navigator, we're aware that they're looking for a job. And then when they find that job, we want to be a part of those conversations as job coaching moves forward. And some people job coaching can fade out, right? So it's something where they become independent. They may not need any ongoing job coaching. And we would see that. We would have conversations with the employment provider, and the folks on our side about what's needed as we move forward. And so it can really vary what job coaching looks like after OOD has faded. It could be 1 hour a month, where it's just a check-in service. It could be way more than that, right? It could be, 24 hours, it could be 30 hours. It's just really based on what that person needs to be successful. I know that there's people that, with our, training systems that may be on a computer, or technology may be a barrier. So they may need somebody, to have a job coach there. We would try to emphasize using natural supports. So what an employer would have available for everyone else, we would try to match that up so that it's more natural for the person, right? So all that would be a conversation that the team would have along that journey, from like looking for a job, finding a job, and then obtaining the job, and continuing to have the conversation about what the supports would need to be long term. And at any time, OOD can come back in. So if the job, person's been on the job for a year and they suddenly need to be retrained, or there's a change in their job responsibilities, we would think about getting OOD back involved. And that would be our kind of our first play, our first card in the playbook, that we would probably pull out. Does that help, Sadie?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Does
Sure.
anyone else have questions for Cynthia or Nathan? Well, while you all are thinking, I'm going to drop a um, link in the chat to, it's a survey just to capture some information about this training. And also, if you're interested in receiving CPDUs, I have a question about that as well, so you can answer that, and I will get a certificate to you. This training has been approved by DODD to get CPDUs, which is great. And this is being recorded, so I will have the recording, and I will share out the recording and the slides to everybody who registered for this event. And also the recording will live on our YouTube channel and on our website at UC. This has been a great series. This has been a wonderful way to wrap it up. I don't think I realized the intricacy of how both entities work together and separately, and it's a lot to learn. It's a lot. And again, this was meant to give us all kind of a starting understanding of the resources that we have in our region to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in their employment and career journeys. So we all have to work together and keep at it. And it's just great to bring the awareness to this group and to the internet also. So, any questions? And that's okay if there aren't. It was great. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you, everybody. When you have a chance, please complete that form for me, that survey, and just be on the lookout for our next training series. I might be taking a little pause from these virtual series because I am planning an in-person event on September 19th, which should be an awesome day of different trainings. We're working out what the theme is and what the trainings will be. So I have a lot of work to do over the next couple of months to get that event planned. But I will be in touch with my newsletter and different communications. So if you are interested in, I think everybody on here is on my listserv, but if not, you can reach me at RAAC underscore, oops, not, hold on, RAAC underscore Cincy at uc.edu. And that's in the chat as well. And I will get you added to our distribution list. Thanks, everybody.